Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
A tragic end to the search for a missing military helicopter in the East County Mountains. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amita Sharma, in for Maya Trabulsi. The Marine Corps announced today that all 5 San Diego-based Marines aboard the helicopter were killed. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer has more on why it could be a while before we know why it crashed.
The CH-53 Echo Sea Stallion helicopter is a workhorse for the Marine Corps. It's able to lift heavy equipment and carry up to 55 people, including crew. But around San Diego, it's also had its share of accidents. In 2018, one caught fire in flight, but was able to safely land in Imperial County. A year earlier, 4 Marines were killed when their CH-53 crashed near El Centro. David Casey is the San Diego attorney who represented the families of 2 of the Marines from that 2018 crash. He says that although that crash was traced back to a faulty part, it's too soon to speculate on this one.
I know there's been a series of crashes with this, and I know that the Marines will look very, very carefully at this most recent crash to see what occurred. But until we get the report from the Marines, we really won't know what causes.
The Marines were flying back to Miramar from Creech Air Force Base in Nevada. At the same time, a series of storms were flowing into San Diego County.
All I can say is you look at everything. Why were they up there? Why were they up there during that weather? I know it does have a history, but I will tell you from experience, and I've been litigating cases for a long time, you have to look at the individual facts of each matter.
The Marine Corps won't name the Marines killed until 24 hours after their families have been told. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
Our final disturbance that's going to kind of end this series of wet days and wet nights across the region is scooting through California. This one has a slightly different trajectory, kind of hugging the interior a little bit more. There will be a little bit more light snow, light to moderate snow at times in the mountains. Mount Laguna gets down to 26 tonight. And there will be some additional showers and drizzle for the coast, even actual rain showers for a time. You can see an influx of these late tonight into the early morning hours. But we're going to talk about what's coming into the other side of the forecast after this in just a bit.
Some homes in Mission Hills are at risk of collapsing after torrential rain led to a mudslide. Fire Rescue says recent storms caused an entire hill to slide on West California Street. The city sent a structural engineer who determined people in those homes should evacuate. Our media partner, KGTV, spoke to a homeowner who says it all happened in just minutes.
My wife, who was upstairs in the master bedroom, heard something hitting something, and it turned out to be these large concrete slabs that were sliding into our deck, into our tough shed, getting closer to our house. You can look off to my right, you'll see the cribbing wall, that's ready to pop. If that pops, that's going into our pool, knocking out our pool equipment, into our kitchen.
City officials say the structural engineer is still working on ways to secure the area, so no word yet if the homes can be saved or when any of those repairs will take place. Some financial aid is on the way for small business owners who are recovering from the recent storms here in San Diego. KPBS reporter MG Perez tells us there is grant money available on a first-come, first-served basis in the hardest-hit neighborhoods.
Shantae Brown can't secure her wooden front gate.
Because of the rain, it has swollen up. It doesn't close anymore. This is where my clients come in.
That's a problem because her clients are parents with young children who bring them here to the Happy Time Learning Academy, where Brown is licensed to care for and educate up to 14 children in her Choice View home business, which was damaged by floodwaters from the recent record rain.
Wood damage, mold, It's making it come apart here. She's changing your diaper? Oh, she's the best.
Happy Time Learning is a small business Brown and her husband have owned and operated for 27 years.
We work paycheck to paycheck. We're regular, everyday people. We do this for the love of the kids, not to make a profit. So we don't know what we're going to be able to do.
The Browns aren't alone. Small business owners across Southeast San Diego and other devastated areas continue cleanup and their conflict with insurance companies that have denied their claims. Many policies just don't cover storm and flood damage.
Businesses of color and low-income communities suffer the worst outcomes, bear the greatest risk and damage from the effect of natural disasters.
The San Diego Black Chamber of Commerce partnered with the Hispanic Chamber and the Asian Business Association are now in a coalition with the city and county of San Diego, announcing grant money they will make available to small business owners for up to $2,500. Applications open this Monday and will be considered in the order they are submitted.
We simply can't afford to not support these small businesses, the jobs they provide, and the families they feed.
There is also a county business emergency fund, and matching donations are being offered by the San Diego Foundation.
We are here for you. Estamos aquí por ustedes. Unidos, estamos aquí para ustedes para ayudarlos.
The coalition of support for renovation and restoration work is a start for small business owners, but it is not a complete solution. They are also waiting for word from the White House, which could bring federal funding. Until then, Shantae Brown says her faith will carry her through this.
God's brought me this far, 27 years, as far as helping the community. He's gonna continue to cover us. So, yeah, it's gonna work out. What do you see, Pooh?
MG Perez, KPBS News.
San Diego County leaders are preparing a new regional transportation plan for the next 25 years. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says it includes hundreds of miles of new freeway lanes.
The San Diego Association of Governments, or SANDAG, has been tasked by the state with rapidly reducing greenhouse gas emissions over the next 10 years. Success depends on making the region less car dependent by providing safe, fast, and convenient alternatives to driving. But an early draft of the agency's next transportation plan includes roughly 200 miles of new freeway lanes. At the agency's board meeting last month, advocates for public transit said those projects will make it impossible to achieve state and local plans to fight climate change.
There's 11 highway expansions in this plan. There should be 0. We've known for a long time that adding new lanes doesn't solve traffic. It just induces more vehicles miles traveled. We need more transportation choices and freedom. There's not enough rail projects in this plan, and the few that are in here have mostly been pushed back to 2050.
SANDAG staff told the agency's board members that the state and federal governments are cracking down on transportation plans that don't take meaningful action on climate change.
I want to be clear what the initial concept is, though. It's not a draft plan. Okay, this is a concept that we'd like to test in the transportation model to see if it performs well, if it achieves the state GHG reduction, if it meets our federal air quality conformity analysis, and then we can make adjustments to it from there.
The SANDAG board, made up of 21 local mayors, city council members, and county supervisors, is scheduled to debate their next regional transportation plan on Friday. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
A high-stakes case of former President Trump's ballot eligibility was presented before the Supreme Court today. Justices will determine whether to restore Trump on Colorado's primary ballot. In December, the state Supreme Court removed him, citing the insurrectionist clause in the 14th Amendment. Julia Benbrick has the details.
A lawyer representing the Colorado voters who challenged Donald Trump's eligibility in the state argues that a post-Civil War insurrection ban in Section 3 of the 14th Amendment bars Trump from serving as president again.
What is very clear from the history is that the framers were concerned about charismatic rebels who might rise through the ranks up to and including the presidency of the United States.
But a lawyer for the former president says that the 14th Amendment does not apply to Trump's presidency.
Officer of the United States refers only to appointed officials. and it does not encompass elected individuals, such as the president or members of Congress.
Trump's team also arguing that what took place on January 6th was a riot, not an insurrection.
And the events were shameful, criminal, violent, all of those things, but it did not qualify as insurrection, as that term is used in Section 3.
The justices seemed poised to rule in favor of keeping the former president on the ballot, several of them signaling concern over the far-reaching implications if they rule in Colorado's favor.
Why should a single state have the ability to make this determination, not only for their own citizens, but for the rest of the nation?
Reporting in Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook.
San Diego State graduate and founder of the medical tech company Masimo, Joe Kiani, has reason to celebrate. Last month, a federal appeals court upheld his patent for a process Kiani says Apple was using illegally. KPBS SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge has the story of Kiani's technology and his battle to defend it.
In a field that helps humanity and this beautiful planet.
Joe Kiani was a 15-year-old Iranian immigrant when he started attending San Diego State University in the 1980s. His family comes from the city of Shiraz. After moving to San Diego, he graduated from Valhalla High School. Kiani has built a corporation called Masimo, now based in Irvine, on a technology that tests blood oxygen levels. He perfected it with the help of his business partner and his favorite professor. And now Masimo has annual revenues of about $2 billion. Speaking at a San Diego State lecture series, Kiani said his approach to business and life is to know that there are some problems that are way too big for one person to solve.
If you try to attack those, you may not get anywhere. You may harm yourself and people you love. But you should go after the things you can fix, the things that are your size, maybe a little bit bigger than you. And I think if you do that, that will be your legacy.
Pulse oximetry is the non-invasive way of measuring the oxygen saturation of hemoglobin, a protein in your red blood cells that delivers oxygen to your tissues. The technology is known to anybody who's had their blood oxygen level tested by placing a finger in a comfortable clamp during a hospital visit. It monitors the blood by shining lights through the skin.
If you're breathing fine, if your heart's pumping right, you should be between 97 and 100%. But if your lung or heart has any problems, then that oxygen level could drop down to 80, 70, 60, to a level where people can't survive.
Pulse oximetry predated Kiani's work, but the old technology had a problem. Fred Harris is an electrical engineer and longtime SDSU professor who Kiani sees as a mentor. He says body movement causes capillaries to close and stop blood flow.
And when the capillaries close, there's no more fresh blood flowing, and the detector says not enough oxygen.
Those false readings caused Kiani and his business partner, Mohammed Diab, to develop an innovation that had its origin in a class Harris taught about adaptive algorithms. They modified an algorithm that allowed pulse oximetry to spot the false oxygen readings. But Kiani has been forced to spend years protecting his invention. Harris says in the world of medical technology, it's not surprising.
If you have a successful technology, then you're subject to attack by people with deep pockets. Simple as that.
Kiani agrees.
Big companies truly believe they can bury the small company with legal fees. So they take whatever they like, and they really assume you can't stand up to them.
The legal battle with Apple began almost 10 years ago when Kiani met with Apple executives who were curious about his oximetry methods. Soon, he noticed some of his employees defecting to Apple. Ultimately, Apple included pulse oximetry technology in its Apple Watch. Masimo took them to court for patent infringement. Kiani doesn't hesitate to blast the computer giant.
They stole our people. They stole our patents. They stole our property. And that's not unusual for them.
A federal appeals court and the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office seem to agree with most of that. The court upheld Masimo's patents and forced Apple to remove pulse oximetry from their watches. Apple would not give KPBS an interview for this story. They provided a company statement saying their appeal in the Masimo case is ongoing, and they strongly disagree with decisions in favor of Masimo. Pending the appeal, the statement said, Apple is taking steps to comply with the ruling. That included introducing a version of Apple Watches without the blood oxygen feature. Today, Masimo is no longer a shoestring startup that can't afford to defend their property in court. Kiani said he has acquired companies with promising technology, but he believes they were fair deals.
We haven't forgotten who we were. I always root for innovators and small companies. But one thing I will guarantee you, we every time will respect other people's intellectual property. Never will we step on companies just because we think we can.
Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
The CEOs representing Big Pharma were in the hot seat on Capitol Hill today. They presented a defense of why Americans pay more for prescriptions than just about every other country in the world. Laura Aguirre has more.
How could your company charge us, in some cases, 10 times more than they charge Canadians or people around the world for the same drug? How do they get away with this?
That set the tone for Thursday's Senate committee hearing with CEOs from 3 of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies.
Our first responsibility is to the patients.
We're eager to find solutions to these access and affordability challenges.
Several lawmakers questioned just how eager, pointing to examples like Johnson & Johnson's arthritis drug Stelara. In Canada, the UK, Japan, and France, the list price for a 1-year supply is $20,000 or less. In the U.S., same drug, $79,000 a year.
I agree with you that the prices in the U.S. Are generally higher for medicines.
Eliquis by Bristol-Myers Squibb, a leading blood thinner that reduces the risk of stroke, is priced at $7,100 a year in the U.S. In several other countries, it's less than $1,000.
The real difference is that in the U.S., patients get access to therapy, life-saving therapy, years before they do in the countries that you mentioned.
We have priced Eliquis in the U.S., in our estimation, consistent with the value it brings.
These drugs and many others are currently on a list of prices Medicare and drug makers will be negotiating under the Inflation Reduction Act. But one thing was clear at the hearing. The pricing debate will continue on. And for now, many Americans will struggle to afford the medicine they need. I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
Thousands of dollars in scholarship money was awarded on the spot today for many San Diego County high school seniors looking to attend a historically black college or university.
Harrisville State University with a full ride scholarship.
Some students were even awarded a full ride to college. This 7th annual Black College Expo is sponsored by the San Diego County Office of Education. 50 HBCU campuses around the country were represented with recruiters on site, providing information and incentives to more than 1,000 students, many with transcripts in hand, ready to commit to a college.
I'm trying to see like the southern colleges. Like I know Louisiana's over there and Alabama, all that other stuff.
It's a different way for connections, and it's just it's overall a nice event, and I recommend it all for more people to come and go to this event and possible scholarship opportunities.
There were also seminars on the best financial aid options and counseling available for choosing a career path. Chula Vista High School will keep its arts-focused schedule for now. KPBS South Bay reporter Corey Suzuki says many students and teachers are celebrating the decision.
Last week, more than 100 Chula Vista High School students rallied outside the Sweetwater District offices. They were worried the district was going to get rid of their current 8-period block schedule. Students and teachers say the 8 periods support the school's acclaimed visual and performing arts program and give all students more flexibility to focus on their interests. Now, they'll get to keep that schedule for another year. Chula Vista High Principal Jennifer Barker-Hines announced the news in an email last week. Senior Kevin Gonzalez says it was bittersweet news.
From what we know,
we're keeping the 8 periods next year, but after that, we don't know the news on that.
Principal Barker Hines said the district and the teachers union are putting together a working group that's going to analyze the value of an 8-period schedule and how it affects things like enrollment, graduation rates, and attendance. Still, students are optimistic.
I don't know, hopeful, I want to say. Hopeful and I think I'm becoming a little more aware of everything, of kind of the situation.
Quentin Rivera is a junior in the theater program and organized last week's rally.
But we are hoping that, I don't know, people get inspired to continue fighting for a CPA, and hopefully one day that it's actually set in stone that 7th and 8th periods aren't going to be taken away.
The principal's email also did not mention students' other request for more funding to support Chula Vista High's arts teachers. A district spokesperson did not agree to an interview for this story. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
If you travel in the mountains, you should be aware of any chain requirements before hitting the road. Caltrans announced that chain control level 1 is in effect for Sunrise Highway, starting from Old Highway 80 to milepost 27.5. Level 1 means vehicles are required to have either a chain or snow tires installed. If you plan to go further, Caltrans actually closed the pass from SR 79 to milepost 27.5 due to heavy snow.
Well, we had a really wet stretch out there, and some parts of Southern California in the hills and mountains just north of Los Angeles have had 15+ inches of rain in the past week. Some areas have seen over 40 inches of snow. We've seen some spots with 2 feet of snow in Southern California, but we're dealing with the end of this pattern here with the final disturbance kicking through over the next 24 hours. A few leftover showers will occur. We're going to still see some mountain snow. That'll be gradually decreasing as we step into the very end of the week at the beginning of the weekend, and we have a welcome drier weather pattern returning. We'll still have some showers late tonight, 50 for your low, and still some big waves out there. We have high surf advisory still in effect for areas up near Huntington Beach and beyond. So it's been a very, very active time here. Quite the onslaught of round after round of rain and mountain snow. 7 a.m. still some pesky showers around parts of San Diego County. It's going to be a wet morning commute again. Still some lingering snow in the mountains as well. But once that rolls through, as we get into Friday evening and Friday night, the areas of snow in the mountains will diminish, and the bulk of the action will be into the interior Southwest, and a drier pattern will return. So our forecast for Friday, still some lingering snow and snow showers up into Mount Laguna, and some rain and rain showers, especially in the morning, for many areas around San Diego and up and down the coast into inland areas too. But finally, Saturday, a different map here. We have some dry weather returning as the issues will be sequestered to the interior Southwest, and that'll be a big change. So the coastal forecast, still some lingering showers, especially in the morning on Friday, then gradually turning a bit warmer. And bright weather returns the weekend into next week. For inland areas, we're going to see some showers, especially the first half of the day Friday, and we'll be a little cool to begin, and then we gradually rise about 10-12 degrees from Friday to Tuesday's high of 70. Great weather's coming our way. Into the mountains, still some snow showers, still very cold with a high around or below freezing for the next 2 days. But then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we rebound up into the low 40s. At least we're moving in the right direction there. And the deserts will see some showers as well on Friday, and then we dry out, turn brighter, and temperatures will be on the rebound up into the mid to upper 60s later this coming week. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
Today, the Padres announced plans to honor the life and legacy of beloved owner Peter Seidler. The team will host a celebration of life ceremony at Petco Park Saturday, March 23rd. Gates open at noon and admission is free. Fans can claim digital tickets starting February 29th. Seating will be available on a first-come, first-served basis. The first 10,000 fans will receive a complimentary jersey patch. Parking is also free at Padres controlled lots. Las Vegas football and Usher. This Sunday could bring peak funflation after missed opportunities during COVID-19 lockdowns. Consumers have not been shy about spending on major sporting events, concerts, and more. Karen Kafa crunches the Super Bowl numbers from Washington.
Big spending on live experiences missed during COVID lockdowns. It's a concept some economists have dubbed funflation.
It's really an idea that comes from the pandemic. Really, it's a similar concept to revenge spending.
Sunday's Super Bowl in Las Vegas, a prime example. StubHub spokesperson Adam Budelli said as of Thursday, Super Bowl ticket sales on their site had already surpassed last year's game and have come from beyond the home team cities of Kansas City and San Francisco.
Unlike maybe Super Bowls in the 80s or 90s or even 2000s, where it really was about the two fan bases, this Super Bowl, we already have sales from all 50 states and over 16 countries.
As of Thursday, the average ticket sold on StubHub at more than $8,000, and it doesn't stop at tickets. David Tinsley, senior economist at the Bank of America Institute, recently looked at the big boon a sporting event or concert brings to a city's hotels, restaurants, bars, and more, citing a 25% boost in traffic at Phoenix area businesses during last year's Super Bowl. He says with consumer confidence up and a solid labor market, the funflation trend toward big experiences will likely play on through 2024.
You know, there's only so many gadgets you can buy ultimately. And I think the younger generations, millennials, Gen Z, have a real appetite for live experiences. So, you know, I'd be broadly optimistic that the trend can continue this year.
I'm Karen Kefa reporting.
Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. NPR's Morning Edition will have a story on California's extreme weather. How are the recent storms affecting the larger discussion around climate change? And Roundtable airs Friday at noon on KPBS FM. Join us for a discussion with local reporters on topics in the news, including the impact of recent storms on the unhoused population. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amita Sharma. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.